What if I told you that one man convinced an entire nation to surrender its conscience and used one of the most advanced armies in history to crush the most basic human rights ever known? What if I told you that millions followed him not because he was right, but because they were afraid not to? And what if everything he did is a warning that still matters today? Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Battle Tech. Today we're diving into one of the darkest, most disturbing chapters in human history. A story of power, manipulation, military might, and the horrifying ways Adolf Hitler used all of it to violate fundamental human rights. Let's begin. Hitler wasn't born a monster. That's what makes this story even more terrifying. He was a failed artist, a drifter, a man searching for purpose. But inside him burned an obsession, an unshakable belief that he was destined to reshape Germany and eventually the world. After World War I, when Germany was defeated, angry, and humiliated, Hitler stepped into the chaos and used desperation as fuel. He didn't win people with kindness. He won them with rage. He blamed, he shouted, he pointed fingers. And millions listened. Because when a nation is broken, people look for someone to fix it, even if that someone plans to destroy them. The Nazi Party was small at first, insignificant, but Hitler had a weapon more powerful than bullets: propaganda. He didn't just speak, he hypnotized. His speeches filled with hatred, threats, and impossible promises turned fear into loyalty. By 1933, he became chancellor, and with that power, everything changed. Hitler didn't just build an army. He built a machine designed not only to conquer land, but to crush human rights. It began slowly. Tiny changes, small restrictions. Jews were banned from jobs. Books were burned. Journalists silenced. Political opponents arrested. At first, many Germans thought it was temporary, just politics. A phase. A tightening of rules. Nothing too serious. That's how dictatorships always begin, not with explosions, but with silence. And then, the silence turned into fear. The Nazi army, known as the Wehrmacht, wasn't just trained to fight wars. It was trained to obey without question, loyalty over morality, orders over humanity, and Hitler used it to reshape society. He targeted the weakest groups first: Jews, disabled people, LGBTQ individuals, Roma communities. Instead of protection, they got persecution. Instead of justice, they got brutality. The army didn't just stand by, they participated. Hitler didn't see these people as citizens. He didn't see them as humans. He saw them as problems. And problems, in his mind, were meant to be eliminated. As Hitler expanded his military power, he built another weapon: the SS, a force unlike anything the world had ever seen. It was elite, loyal, cruel, and under Heinrich Himmler, it became the backbone of state terror. Imagine living in a country where you could be arrested without reason, where your neighbor could disappear at midnight and never return, where soldiers watched your every move, waiting for one mistake. That was life in Hitler's Germany. And just when the world thought it couldn't get worse, Hitler made his biggest move: the invasion of Poland in 1939. In one night, Europe erupted into war. In one night, Hitler unleashed his military against the world. In one night, human rights became meaningless. The blitzkrieg tactic, lightning war, was fast, terrifying, devastating. Cities didn't have time to react. Armies didn't have time to defend. Hitler believed speed and shock would break nations before they could think. And he was right, at least for a while. Country after country fell: Norway, Denmark, France. Every victory made Hitler believe he was unstoppable. Every defeat of another nation tightened his fist around Europe. But here's the twist: the more powerful Hitler became, the more paranoid he grew. He didn't trust his generals. He didn't trust his allies. He barely trusted his own people. His army wasn't just fighting battles. It was enforcing terror. Soldiers were ordered to wipe out entire communities. Children, elderly, families, nobody was safe. Ghettos were built. Camps were created. And behind closed doors, plans for mass extermination began. This wasn't war anymore. It was genocide. While the world fought on the front lines, millions suffered behind barbed wire. Hitler's army guarded train cars packed with terrified families. They patrolled camps where torture was routine. They enforced laws that stripped millions of dignity, identity, even names. This was the ultimate abuse of military power. This was the ultimate violation of human rights. This is why the world must never forget. Not because the past is far away, but because it can happen again when fear replaces reason. Hitler wanted a world built on dominance. But in the end, his own fear destroyed him. When the Allies, led by the United States, the United Kingdom, and their partners, pushed back, Hitler's empire began to crumble. The same soldiers who once marched proudly now retreated desperately. Cities fell. Allies surrendered. And Hitler, the man who believed he would rule the world for 1,000 years, hid in a bunker terrified. Because dictators always fall, always. In April 1945, surrounded by enemies outside and betrayal inside, Hitler chose cowardice. He ended his own life, leaving behind a world scarred by his crimes. His army collapsed. His empire dissolved. His ideology became a symbol of pure evil. But the damage he caused, the families destroyed, the millions killed, the generations traumatized remains the strongest reminder of how dangerous one man can be when the world stops paying attention. If there's one lesson the UK, the USA, and the entire world must remember, it's this: democracy is fragile. Freedom is fragile. Human rights are fragile, and they can disappear faster than we ever imagine. All it takes is silence. If you want more powerful historical breakdowns, emotional deep dives, and untold stories, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss a video from BattleTech.